Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome everyone to the Cope Life podcast. This is the first episode of the new year. I'm so excited. I'm Dr. Charleston Gaines, and I'm so excited because if you've been following me, listening to this podcast, you know that over the last year or so, I've been just providing as much content and education information as I can about mental health and emotional intelligence. And I always talk about the mind body connection, but I haven't really given it the respect and the time that it deserves. And so, what I wanted to do was start this year off with a bang, bring in an expert, someone I admire and trust, and really who has an energy that you guys are going to feel as well. So, without further ado, I just want to introduce to you Katie Molidor. Did I say your last name right? Molidor?
It's Molidor. It's a little odd, but it's also pronounced Molidor. So, you
Yeah,
know,
so Katie is going to talk to us about the mind body connection. She's going to talk to us about yoga. She's a yoga expert, and she's going to share whatever else she feels like we should know. And if you stick around long enough, you're going to watch her lead me through some meditation. And I can tell you now, I'm going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay though, because 2023 is the year that we get a little uncomfortable so that we can live our best lives. And I believe Katie and her expertise is going to help us get off to a great start. So, Katie, welcome. What I would like for you to do, really, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and then jump right into the importance of the mind body connection.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Gaines, for that wonderful introduction. I it kind of shocks me anytime anyone refers to me as an expert, although I have been practicing yoga for over 20 years. So I guess that, and I've been teaching for well over a decade and a half. So I guess I am in a sense, but I always see myself as a student. I'm a student of life, I'm a student of yoga, and I like to approach it from that aspect because then it creates like this common ground between me and whoever my student is, because I'm also a student, you know? So it kind of lowers that bar. So we're meeting each other on this same level rather than I'm this guru and you guys are all my disciples, and that's not going to work in my yoga. So I don't take it from that aspect. I really try to create a collective environment so we can all see that we're all just people, and that's a big part of the mind body complex that we get into. Is it all has to do with the ego. I mean, people join yoga and they want the hot yoga buns, they want flexibility and increased range of motion, but there's so much more to yoga that involves the mind than just the body. The body is not just putting it into different postures and then twisting and stretching. It's not just a stretching exercise class. It's not active stretching. It's stretching with a purpose. You have to have an intention. And so when we make our intention in the beginning of class, and I'll show you later when we do our guided meditation, and you're not going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel very comfortable. You're going to be great. Some of my favorite people to work with are always either someone who's never encountered yoga before, and so they don't really have much to go off of, which is more rare nowadays than when I first started. But the other people are the people that don't like yoga. Those are my favorite students, and I love to convert people to yoga because it normally comes from an idea of a preconceived notion. You think either this is too much juju fun kind of stuff and that's a little wonky for me, I don't really want to get into it, or it's hot yoga and you tried that and then you're just like, I'm just not flexible, I'm not these things. And so you come to yoga with this preconceived idea, and I love those people because my favorite thing to do is to just blow them right out of the box. I mean,
I love it. I was one of those people. Sorry to interrupt, but I was one of those people. I went to hot yoga one time,
Mhm.
and I was like, it's just too hot. And what I did for the last 15 minutes is I just lay on the ground and breathed. Like that was it. I was like, it's so hot. I'm just gonna lay here till it's over. But I didn't quit. Well, that's kind of quitting, but kind of not.
No, that's not quitting. That's honoring your body. That's exactly what you're supposed to do in yoga. I tell people all the time, and it does kind of irritate some teachers, but as long as you let them know ahead of time, like, hey, I have limitations, or I'm not feeling great today, I'm just going to take it easy. And most of the time, because they're yoga instructors, they should be accommodating. You know, everybody comes to your class, different points in their lives, different energies, different days. We all ebb and flow. And you can't expect to come to the mat or the class every day with the same energy. Oh, I'm bubbly and great, and this is going to be my yoga high. Like sometimes you just need a place to breathe or to relax or to let go or whatever it is. And you come to the mat, and it doesn't have to be a mat, it could be any place in your life that you feel safe and calm. So you're cultivating this area where you can continuously go to every single day and feel accepted, feel calm, feel good. And that's where we're going to let go of the stress.
I
So,
love that so much. You talk about really a safe space where you can feel safe and feel calm.
right.
And what I love about that is that a lot of people, when they think about feeling safe and feeling calm, they think about like external threats, right? Like where am I safe? Where am I not going to get attacked? Where am I, not going to be robbed or whatever? But in reality, that's not the kind of safety you're talking about. You're not talking about being free of I don't know, Thanos or like invading forces. It's this inner safety. So can we talk about that a little bit? Just feeling safe within yourself and I guess peace within yourself and kind of also how yoga helps with that, because I think a lot of people who are looking for a safe space or a calm place are looking for, or they think that they need to find a certain location,
Yeah.
right? And that's, you're not talking about you're not talking about specifically a certain place,
Well,
but you're
it's
talking.
both, Dr.
Okay,
Gaines.
yeah. Tell
It
me
really
about
is.
it.
It really is both. So, say you don't have that secure feeling inside of yourself, which most people don't when they come to yoga first. You're coming to yoga because you need the calm, not because you have it. A lot of people don't have it. And so they're looking for that place. And you're right, it is inside of yourself. But how are you just suddenly going to have that? You can't suddenly have that and then start practicing in a place you don't have. So you physically have to find a place in the world where you feel calm. Maybe it's your bedroom, maybe it's a park, maybe it's a friend's house or a church pew. I don't know. It doesn't matter to anybody else. It only matters to you. And then in this place you can continuously go to and you can feel safe. Then you can start to do the work that starts within. But you can't do that if you feel like, okay, this is a place where, like what you said, I am actually literally not safe. People are going to intrude upon me. I'm sorry if you can hear the train in the background. um, but I mean, if you feel like you're a private person, and like me, I have 4 kids and a husband that works at home. So right now I'm over by the beach and I'm enjoying like my cup of matcha. But it's sometimes impossible for me as a busy mom, yoga mom or not. I'm trying to find that place, even in my own house at times, can just be impossible. So finding that place wherever it is for you. For me, I like my mat. I can take it with me. So that's the nice thing about the mat is when I bring my problems to the mat, instead of cultivating an area where it's like, this is stress, this is harboring all of my problems, I just keep bringing it to this area. Like you would manifest negative energy in that area. You're always going with this bad feeling. But that's not what happens with a yoga mat. You bring your problems to the mat, just like you're a boxer or a WWE wrestler. You bring those problems to the mat, but that's where you leave them. You leave them there. That's where they go away and you let go. And that letting go process is what people are looking for. It's not that we're trying to really escape life. It's that people want to let go of their stressors, and whether they're, you know, high-powered attorneys that have a major issue with alcoholism in their law firm culture, right? Or you're a stressed out CEO that runs, a supply chain company, and there's so many problems for you right now. Or you're a busy school teacher that doesn't have enough support. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It's just so important to have that ability to let it go. You need to be able to have that release. And I noticed, like, being a yoga teacher is really kind of fun as an adult because I get to teach adults how to act like kids. For
Yes.
for a few minutes out of a day, I get to tell full-grown adults, lie on the floor, grab your toes, take a deep breath and roll around. And the amount of stress that comes off of people is almost visual. You can see these adults finally allowing themselves to just breathe.
I
Just,
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
it
You know
starts
what?
with breath.
One thing that you said, that, well, a word that you've used now a few times in the last couple minutes, is a process. And I love that, because you said that you can't just instantly, like, be at peace, right? My world is chaotic. I have all this stress going on. I hate my life, blah, blah, blah. I've decided I'm at peace right now, right? Oh, that would be so nice. That would be so nice. And so, where you say that you can't just instantly do that, and you mentioned the word process, can you talk a little bit about that process? Because I'm thinking about how you talk about how there's these people dealing with all of these stressors, and then they get to be a, like, childlike for a moment, which is different than childish. It's two different things.
Mhm.
So they get to be childlike for a moment, and maybe in that first moment, some of them have this great peace right away, and some of them, it takes a while.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kind of want you to talk about just the process for, I don't know, I guess you pick the example.
Yeah, I can pick a perfect example. So you said right from the beginning, you're going to be a little uncomfortable, with the guided meditation. And I feel like that's being honest with ourselves. It's doing something different. And it is totally natural to feel uneasy, a little scared, and a little bit uncomfortable because this is not our comfort zone. But that means we're going to grow, because anytime we're outside of our comfort zone, we grow as people. So what's a really cool thing about that is most people will come to yoga and they will feel uncomfortable, especially if they're new to it or if they have preconceived notions. And telling a 40, 50, 60, 30, 28-year-old, doesn't matter, a full grown adult, and telling them, okay, I need you to bring your knees up towards your armpits and grab your toes while you lay on your back. I'm going to have you rock. That's called happy baby. I'm going to have you rock like that with your bum and your fanny hanging out in the air and a whole group of people. And everybody feels uncomfortable. Everybody does. Everybody does in that position. I did it first, but you know what? What's great about that is it gives us a chance to laugh at ourselves. So serious we adults are all the time, taking everything serious because we deal with serious problems. And then we forget to deal with that part of ourselves that's the same person throughout our entire life, that continuity, that I want to go climb trees and chase butterflies and pick up lizards, or, lay in the sunshine, or whatever it is that you want to do. Make a little birdhouse out of sticks like my sisters and I did as a kid and try to convince the birds to live in them. It didn't work. But it's just that carefree, like you said, that childlike innocence, and allowing yourself that freedom. And how much we deprive ourselves as adults, how unhealthy that is for our minds, that we won't just allow ourselves to be goofy, to be silly, to laugh at ourselves without it being cruel or mocking, or just taking in the moment for the lightness that it is and living in that and being embarrassed and putting ourselves out there. And that's okay, because we can walk away from that class and you can feel good because you did something today that maybe was a little silly, but you feel better about it.
You say that, and I absolutely love it because I think about two words that we hear all the time as adults that it drives me nuts. Be serious.
Mm.
We hear that all the time. Be serious. You're not taking this serious enough. Why aren't you serious? Do you find this funny? And so we kind of get into this mode where having fun, being silly, laughing, having this uncontrollable giggle, right? Like we don't associate having the giggles with adulthood, but but we act like we're no longer allowed to do that. And so when you talk about actually doing that, what I think about is really the idea of if I can do this, and it takes my brain, my mind, my energy to a different place. Can you talk about just kind of how that impacts overall self acceptance? Like,
Yeah. So what's great, that's another aspect of what we can build with the yoga and the mind body complex. So allowing yourself that freedom to just be silly gives your mind a reprieve. It allows you to have a vacation from the seriousness and the problems that you have in your life. And even if it's only for a few minutes a day, you greatly benefit mentally, and it's proven in a lot of scientific studies. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'll bring one up to you and then send you a link. But there's a lot of studies that they've shown like just the positivity itself is so beneficial to our health. So when we start to think about maybe some of the outdated or archaic ways of looking at being an adult, let's look at the Puritans. From the time that those kids were little, I mean, they were shaped and molded to try to act like adults. And I just feel like that's not only is it not natural, it's super not healthy, neither for the children or the adults, to spend your entire life to not enjoy things, to not vibrate higher, to not be positive, because then you're missing out on this feeling of gratitude. It's not just about humility or, you know, compassion for others. It's also about compassion for yourself. And this practice allows you to have a love for yourself, a love affair with your body and your mind, and coming to that mat with no judgment. We all make mistakes. And if you go into a classroom, you'll get to see some people are just amazing at balance. I'm not jealous, but I'm just keep working on it. I look at them and I'm just like, that is great. I wish I had that kind of balance and focus all of the time, but I don't. There are days when the teacher is Miss Katie's going that way, and so it's just the ebb and the flow of the day. It's every day we have different energies. You can't say that you're really balanced every single day. Some people are more balanced almost every day. They're more balanced people. And whether that is a physical attribute, it normally with yoga, we'll notice that our physical attributes and strengths and weaknesses are manifested from what's inside. So what I can mean by that is, so if you're so serious all the time, and you start to hold that stress in your body, and you can see people holding it, the clenching in their jaws, the tightening up of their shoulders, they close off their chest, where your heart is. And so we're closing ourselves as we look into our phones, and we're hunching over, and we're closing off to the world. And so a big part of me with yoga, especially nowadays as the digital smartphone has taken off, is to bring people back open, like leaning back and opening the chest and opening the heart and allowing them that space to breathe, just to breathe. People are needing moment vacations. It's not just, well, we need a 4-day work week because we are burnt out, which I agree with, but we need a vacation every single day. Every single day, you need a vacation from your problems, from your stressors, from the plaguing thoughts in your mind, your anxieties, your guilts, your worries, your everything. You need to be able to just have a few moments out of the day where you can just breathe, be and feel better without having any of that chatter around you. You know,
You just, I feel like two words that you just said were just profound. So as you're speaking, I have a lot of thoughts about the things that you say. But then you said moment vacation. And that, oh, and that really just kind of, those words open my mind up because I think about a moment vacation. First of all, when you think about going on vacation, you don't think about, let me go somewhere and do absolutely nothing. You want to be active on your vacation,
I'm not.
whatever it is. Even if you're just going to the beach and you're going to
Mhm.
sit on your balcony, you are still actively hearing the sounds, hearing the waves, breathing the air, relaxing your body. And so the
Yeah.
idea of a moment vacation, I think of yoga in the sense of being able to take a vacation daily and you're actively vacationing, which is not the same as a lunch break at your desk or something like that. It's active vacationing. Almost I want to call it, actually I remember Bruce Lee talked about this and
Oh, he's great.
he called it active inactivity.
Yes, that's
And
exactly right.
and I love that. I just love that you said that. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to moment vacation. I feel like we all need that. And
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna think about those words, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you continue however you want. But I'm gonna think about those
I mean, I
words.
don't know if you're a Bill Murray fan, but or anybody out there, but if they haven't seen What About Bob, it's an old movie with Bill Murray in it. And it's the same thing that the doctor says. He's like, I want you to take a vacation from your problems. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to actually physically go anywhere. We're trying to cultivate a few minutes and a few breaths out of the day where we're just taking a vacation from those problems. Because when you think about regrets and you think about exactly sitting on the dock of the bay, so when you think about regrets and you think about guilt and things like that, those all have to do with the past. And then you think about anxieties and your worries and your fears, and those are all projections of the future. So you're not living at all today when you're doing that. You're living in yesterday or you're living in tomorrow, but you're not here in the present. So what we're trying to do is build that pause and build those moments, those little moments of reprieve for yourself. And through a continued practice of yoga, we can start to cultivate this strengthened ability between our body and our mind. See, this is where it gets more scientific, and I get really excited about it because it's interesting to me, is the parasympathetic nervous system. So with yoga, it's not a stretch class because I mean you do use the ligaments, but we're focusing more on muscles and tendons. It's not a dance class. It's not pretty. It's not most of the time point your toes and this yoga porn where we're trying to do back bends on the Grand Canyon cliffs. That's not yoga. I can't emphasize that enough for everyone. Please don't idolize that. I mean, that's wonderful and great, but contortionism is not the same thing as yoga. And yoga, we're going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. We're going to wear messy yoga hair buns. We're going to wear old holy sweatpants and big t-shirts that don't fit. And it's okay because it's not about how hot you look in your Lululemon yoga pants. I mean, I love them, but that's not what it's about. It's about showing up when you don't want to, showing up when you've had a terrible day, you've had a loss, and you show up anyways. You don't feel good and you don't feel bubbly or happy. That's when you're really doing the yoga because that's the real work. Because you showed up anyways and you showed up for yourself today. Even if nobody else did, you showed up for you.
You remind me of well,
Go
I
ahead.
have a comment,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
When you talk about when you don't feel good, you remind me of David Goggins. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but this guy he's considered the baddest man on earth. He was a Navy SEAL, all these things, and it makes me laugh because as much as he talks about being hard and stay hard and this and that, when you have a bad day, when you're not feeling like living life, he says you're feeling like a poopy head. That just makes me laugh. Like, okay, if the Navy SEAL says you feel like a poopy head, there's a problem.
Yeah.
But the question I have for you is, you talk about regrets and living in the past and the mind body connection. There's so many things that you mentioned, but I want to take it a step further, and not just living in the past and not just regrets or guilt, but can you talk about yoga and trauma?
Yes. Yes. So, um, if we don't mind, I'm gonna, Dr. Gaines, you know, I've talked to you about this, but just for everybody else, like I am adult survivor of child abuse and trauma. Um, I suffer from panic attacks, and I do have anxiety as well. But and I'm also neurodiverse. I'm ADHD. But so with all of these things going on, and I have siblings, and they have their own issues as well from the trauma that we've all experienced. Yoga has been vitally, essentially important to my own life and my own journey for what has helped me change my mindset from that of a victim to that of a survivor. And that's key. That's key to being a survivor, is understanding that you're not a victim, that none of us are victims. Like things happen to us and we can be victimized. But
Yes.
to live in that mentality is damaging for yourself. It's just like living with anger. You know, it's not hurting the other person, it's hurting you. And it took me a very long time, and yoga helped to get, I might be in the sun a little bit, but but the the yoga and its ability through both physical and mental to rehabilitate a person is just phenomenal. I mean, it's unbelievable the work that it can do for people. And some people have seen Dallas Page, who's a WWE wrestler, and he's done great work with people for a lot of weight loss and different things like that. So you can see that people come from it at different spectrums. Jamie Foxx is fabulous. I have so much respect for the man. He started without anybody knowing it, but the cat's out of the bag now. But he had started a yoga program for incarcerated criminals. So he started yoga through the prison systems, and you can become like a yoga teacher and get certified to go and teach in the prisons, which I've often thought about, because the idea is that we're supposed to be rehabilitating people, not
Right.
sending them to a timeout. So whether you're so far from where you want to be in life that you're in a penitentiary, or whether you're suicidal, as I have been, or, you know, you're just in a really dark place, yoga is not like, it's not a pill. It's not going to instantly make you feel better. Just like if you're overweight and you suddenly started exercising, you're not going to suddenly fit into those size 4 pants. You know, you have to make a commitment to keep doing it. And as you keep doing it, you'll notice you become healthier. So it's the same thing with yoga. It's a commitment to trying to be healthier for yourself every day. It's a commitment to yourself. It's not for anybody else. It's not about how we look, or, you know, these acrobatic kind of things we can do in the bedroom. I mean, these are all great perks, but none of those are real work. What the real work is being able to wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and not feel like you want to cry, to go to
Right.
work, not feel like you want to run away from it, and to be able to go home and not feel like you want to leave. Those are important things that people have to deal with, whether they're impoverished or whether they're wealthy or wherever they are in life. And I've met so many people on different paths, and it's the same issues. It's the same ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I love the way that you explain it, the way that you talk about it, because it's so important, especially when you talk about, how we're all the same, right? Whether you're in the prison, or whether you're, maybe you got a lot of money, you got a nice home, and so on.
Yeah.
Your issues, your problems are they're within your mind. And I always say that, everyone deserves to be happy, right? So maybe you committed a horrible crime and you deserve to be in prison, but at the same time, you can also deserve to be happy, right? Because the when they say that you're sentenced to 5 years or 10 years or even 6 months, what they're not saying is that you are required to be miserable and hate your life the whole time. Like that's not a requirement. You can choose to feel better. And then when you talk about someone making a commitment to themselves, well, that's exactly it. In spite of my situation, I can breathe deep and I can get over the guilt or the shame or the regret. And yoga really helps with that because it really helps you to focus on your mind, right? Because physically you're not going anywhere. Like if you're in prison, you're not going to go
Yeah.
to anywhere from your mom's house to the beach or the mountains. And
Yeah.
so the different places you can go are in your mind, and yoga really enables you to have more power over where your mind goes. And I think about the book The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And one thing that he says is when someone's experienced real trauma, they should do yoga before psychotherapy. And he says the reason why is because, well, first of all, emotions are physiological. And the
Mhm.
evidence is when you're feeling the greatest emotion, you shed tears. That's not pain running down your face. That's an actual liquid. There's something physiological going on. And he says that when your body is dysregulated, your mind is unable to process all of the psychotherapy.
Mhm.
And so I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. Where okay, I've experienced this trauma, and maybe it's something I've been dealing with for 20 years or 2 weeks, and I'm in the process, right? Because finding a therapist is a process because we're in America and there's a
Especially now, it's really hard.
yeah, and so how would you just kind of emplace yoga in this healing recovery process that may include therapy as well?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to move a little bit so I'm less in the sun. So I'm gonna move this way. There we go. Okay. It's a little bit better. Okay. So that's a really good question. When it comes to yoga, I would say that, okay, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. Repeat it again, Dr. Gaines, please.
Well, just kind of the for someone who's experienced trauma,
Mhm.
whether you're trying to get over something from 20 years ago or 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
can you talk about the integration of essentially the integration of yoga and therapy in the healing process?
Okay. So when I first started going to yoga, instead of using it as an exercise class and more for my own personal therapy, I would say that what's really interesting about it is the parasympathetic nervous system has to do with our flight or fight response. So when you've been traumatized and you've been exposed to trauma for extended period times, higher cortisol levels, that reactionary kind of moment becomes quicker. And so we often look at people from these areas and we're like, oh, well, they're damaged, and so we kind of come with a judgment about that. But it's just like what you said, like we can strengthen that part of ourselves. And so through yoga, we start to learn, and we start with the breath, because your breath is forever connected to your life. It's the first thing that we ask about when somebody's upset. Like, oh, can you breathe? Are you okay? You're breathing? Put your head between your legs, like deep breaths. Are you all right? Can you breathe? It's always that. And if you're upset, it's and your breathing hitches, or it's panting, or if you're excited or anything like that. And so we start to notice our breath. And so the first thing we do is we start to cultivate and strengthen our mind in a way that we're paying attention to ourselves. Especially important for people that have been traumatized or abused, because they have heightened senses of awareness for everybody else, because they're always on the defense. They're always afraid of that fear of a threat coming for them. They have it in the back of their mind all of the time. So learning to let go of that fear when it's so intricately connected to their ability to survive and has contributed to their survival up to this point is a very hard thing to teach somebody to let go of, so we need to bring the brain to a point where it can be calm, it can be relaxed, and it doesn't have that fight or flight response.
Yeah, when you
Then we're going to institute it.
yeah, you say that, and it reminds me of what you said earlier, right? So you say it's hard to teach someone to let go,
Mm-hmm.
right? What has to happen is they have to be open to the learning.
Yes.
And when I say open to the learning, I'm reminded of when you said opening up the chest.
Right.
And so it goes together, right? And so it's the learning to let go is also physiological. It
Yeah.
includes the body. It's not just saying on Instagram, here's a list of things I'm letting go of. It's bringing
Happy.
your
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm letting go of stress this year. That's great. Yeah, no, if we could just let it go forever, that'd be wonderful. But it's a constant practice. It's a process, like I said. And so first we get to a point where we can just breathe. We're just tuning in with ourselves, no judgment, and we just start breathing wherever we are. That's fine. Even if you're like, that's fine. Just notice your breathing. Just notice it. And as you notice it and bring attention to it, then hopefully we'll calm it down. And once you're in a calm, relaxed state, then from there, we're going to start to move. And I'm going to start to put your body in places that activate that parasympathetic nervous system. It's going to give you adrenaline shots. It's going to stress your brain just a little bit. And then we're going to do a counter pose and we're going to relax your brain. So as we do these back bends that energize you and stress you out a little bit, then we're going to relax and teach our body to relax. So as we do this physical process, we'll get to a point eventually over a continuation of time when this starts to overflow and manifest in other areas of your life, and you start to become more and more capable of being able to notice when you're getting upset without anybody else telling you. You can hear it in your breath. You're so in tune to it. And then you start to reflect. Then you start to question, well, why am I getting upset here? Where's the resistance I'm feeling? Why am I being so emotionally attached to whatever this person's saying or whatever this event that happened? Most things are outside of our control. So why do we feel so attached to it? Why do we take such ownership all the time? We put so much onto ourselves because we have to be serious adults. Yeah.
yeah, I love everything you're saying, especially about the attachment, because I really think that one thing that we're learning really as a culture or society
Mhm.
in regards to yoga is that, as you said earlier, it's more than just the physical practice. And so one thing I want to hit on real quick is when you talk about the different poses and activating stress or de-stressing, I always look at it like using our bodies to tell our brains that there's no imminent threat. And
Right.
so we have this intrusive thought, and the intrusive thought could be anything. It could be, last week sucks. I didn't do a good job at work, or I'm
You
nervous
embarrassed
about a doctor.
yourself at the New Year's party last time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then what happens is you strike this pose, and your muscles are in a certain position, and so your brain, when you're stressed out, you have the cortisol, the adrenaline release. The brain doesn't know where to send it because you're not like actively running from a tiger. So the brain's like, we need to breathe faster to get more oxygen. Where do we send it? And yoga is your body telling your brain, not right now, we're good.
Yeah.
But when I think of that, and then you talk about the attachment, the detachment, the control, letting all of that go. It reminds me of a key word that you said earlier that I kind of want to transition to. And that word that you used earlier was vibration.
Uh-huh.
And so I want to kind of look at when we're talking about how we vibrate and stress, tension, like if you can kind of give us an overview, and then I'll just come up with some random questions afterward and we'll see where we go.
Okay, sure. Okay. So I love getting into the vibrations because it can go either way. We can go with the juju stuff where it starts to get kind of out there with the metaphysical, and we can also go super scientific with it because, as my astronomy professor would have said, like everything is a vibration. We're all frequencies, we're all vibrations. Everything mathematically is a vibration. In yoga, they talk about om and chanting. And a lot of people get really weirded out with the chanting. Um, Probably has some sort of association with like monks or something, and that had to do with a lot of religions, not just yoga and their chanting, but it has to do with a more, I guess, present day word would be affirmations. So positive affirmations, and whether you're singing a song lyric or thinking of a picture or a symbol or a word or a catchphrase or anything, that that mantra, that little affirmation that you have is becomes your single focus. That's all you want to focus on. So that way it allows your mind to hold on to one thing, and all of the other stuff is what we're going to let go of. So it's kind of like watching clouds. You don't want to you can see them obviously, and to say that you don't see them or they're not there is ridiculous. So you're going to have thoughts even as you're laying there in meditation or whatever. You're going to have thoughts, but please try not to hold on to them. Please not delve into them or don't imagine what they could be. Just notice them as a cloud passes by. You notice it, you acknowledge it, and you let it go on. You're not holding on to that. You're holding on to that one thought. And if other thoughts come through your mind, you're like, and then you let them go, because what you're supposed to be focusing on is that one thought. And that's a lot to do with yoga, is where are we putting value? I think that's a big thing to do with the 2023 is like shifting our value and shifting our focus from these outward ideals of success or validation towards something that's more, something that has a lot more gravity to it, which is an inner validation. You can't put a price on inner peace. So if you could walk outside and you have this like bulletproof coat that you've built yourself of all the things that you're okay with. You're okay with not being perfect. You're okay with not having achieved every single dream that every person has ever put on you. And you're just doing your best, being the best person every day. And sometimes you make mistakes. That's okay. Pencils come with erasers, like not holding yourself to this extreme standard, not having an expectation that you feel like you have to meet in order to be deserving of love or respect or acceptance.
I love that. I love that. The idea of accepting your imperfections and not having to meet certain standards to be deserving of love or compassion. And when I think about that, I think about how we have so many people in our lives that we believe, or I can say that we know, deserve our love and our compassion, right? Our best friends, our kids, our parents, siblings, whatever. And so we have so much to give to everyone else. Yet at the same time, we can kind of block it out so that we are not open to receiving it from them. And
Yeah.
so, and yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was just saying, like, I love you speaking on that.
Yeah, no, people have decided and deemed themselves not worthy. And it's really odd because it's like a lot of the time we'll treat other people with more respect or love, even people we don't like, than we'll treat ourselves. And a lot of time people have a secret enemy in the mirror. And that's not good. You can't carry that around with you. You have to be able to, one, empty the cup. So imagine yourself as a cup and all the stuff in life and everything that people put into you. So you have to be able to drain that cup, because if you just keep allowing everything every person says and every judgment from yourself to carry over, then you're just going to be overflowing with craziness. Basically, it's too much. It's too much pressure. It's too many thoughts. It's too many things. And so I'm gonna move again because that sun keeps coming up. Sun's coming up on the West Coast. Sorry, guys. Okay. Um, yeah, it's almost 8 here. So, but let's see. Can you see me okay? Is this okay? Good. Okay. So, the thing about having an emptier cup is once you let go and you've emptied all these thoughts and preconceived notions, every day you have to try to do this. Just empty it out anytime you're overflowing with too much. And you come back to this feeling of just like, it's okay. I'm in this moment and all I can do is be in this moment and breathe. So, if you've had trauma, I have a lot of family members and friends and clients that have had struggled with different types of addictions. So the one thing I don't agree with AA is they're like, well, take it one day at a time. And I feel like there are 24 hours in a day. And if you've ever been an addict or you've ever been traumatized or abused, 24 hours is 24 hours too much. If you're suicidal, anything like that, 24 hours is such a long time. One moment, one breath at a time is all you can handle. One breath. And if you can do one breath, just do that. Just take one breath, just one step, one breath, and not have to think about what are you going to do next hour? What are you going to do for dinner? What are you going to do tomorrow morning? What are you going to, like, you're projecting. You're projecting so much, and then you add, and then it snowballs, and you start to quicksand in your own thoughts because you're not allowing yourself that little reprieve, that little space. So with yoga, we teach, like, one of the first things we'll teach is like a 4-count breath. And most people don't know that Om, which most people spell wrong, they say OM, but it's actually AUM and then a space. It's a pause. It's a 4-count. Most things in yoga are a 4-count when it comes to breath. So and then it's where you place your mouth. So the Om is actually a and then a U, and then a when you close your mouth, and then you stop and you pause. And the pause is equally as important as anything else. That pause is important. And the same thing with yoga. Every teacher I've ever had and every student I've ever had, it's the same. Shavasana, which is the corpse pose. I know it's a morbid title, but it's like starfish. You just lay on the ground, right? Like a cadaver. You're just going to lay there. And it's the easiest to do, but the hardest to master because you have to allow yourself to just settle, to just allow everything else in the universe to carry on without you having to think about the next moment, and just be in that one moment and breathe. And what's beautiful about that is that as we develop this ability to create a pause, then we can create this moment when we can reflect before we react in life. So instead of having an immediate reaction to things or letting things upset us, it gives us that reflection time. So then we can start to be like, it upset me. And then you're like, well, why did it upset me? Why am I getting so upset about that? And then there's other things like just having the grace to forgive yourself for not being perfect. And that's okay. We're not always going to meet all of our expectations. We're not always going to be the winner. And people often talk about, like, well, failure is part of success. And I feel like it is, though. It's part of learning. And so it's not, well, life is full of lessons and blessings. Life is full of blessings, period. It's just, they're all blessings. If you learned a lesson, then that's a blessing. And now you've become wiser and stronger, and it gives you this attitude of gratitude and the ability to look back and be like, it hasn't always been easy, but all of these things have helped develop me and strengthen me to the person that I am, and I'm not done yet. And realizing that the journey is going to keep going, and you have a chance to better yourself even more. You have a chance to be a whole new person this year. You know, every day, every breath you wake up and you're new. You're breathing in a new life force. You're breathing in these chemicals. You're helping your body. Your body is rebuilding cells all of the time. You're constantly renewing yourself. So you should never hold yourself down to a label or a confinement of what you were before or what you other people think you should be. You can just be you, and that's okay.
So when you talk about there's so many different things that you've talked about, right? And some of it is waking up where you have, where you're feeling like you're not having a good day. There's regret. There's even what you're talking about now is being able to accept your imperfections, and recognizing you're not going to meet all of your expectations, and giving yourself grace, compassion. There's gratitude. There's so many different mindsets, mind states, and then there are
And we
our
haven't once talked about a position, well, one pose, which is laying down. But
and so but so with all of that, we have our emotional and mindset goals, where I want to be in this state, I want to feel like this, I want to do that. And so what I would like for you to get into, to talk about, is kind of which kinds of yoga kind of go with which goals. We talked about that previously, and I want to talk about that because for people who are not very familiar with yoga, me being one of these people, yoga is yoga. And and apparently there's a whole lot more to it than that. So just going to any yoga class, regardless of what it's called, regardless of what time, is really not the best way to approach it, I think, but I don't really know. So if you could kind of talk about what kind of yoga is there, what should I use it for, when, just some kind
okay.
of overview or guide for people like me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when they say yoga is for everybody, they actually mean that. I mean, you don't even have to have a body that moves in order to do yoga, because the first yoga poses were traditionally all seated poses. And they were all about meditation, they were all seated. So if you have limited ability to move, then there are plenty of yoga poses that you can do just going through the mind. Jnana yoga is the yoga of knowledge. So if you're a little bit of a bookworm like I tend to be, they're like Patanjali came up with the eightfold path with yoga. And what's great about that is it talks about that anywhere you start, it basically like all roads lead to Rome. So no matter where you start, it will basically bring you to another spoke on the wheel of a different aspect of yoga because they're all related. And yoga itself does not mean, flexible. It does not mean stretch. It means unity. Yoga means to yoke or to unite. So what yoga is about is uniting your body and your mind and your spirit all onto like the same path. So trying not to be at odds with yourself and at odds with the rest of the world sounds pretty nice. And so that's what we're trying to do. It's not, like they say, it's not so much about trying to touch your own butt but get your head out of it. Like that's the point of yoga, is to try to pull your head out of your bum and look around and see the things that we've been missing because we're overlooking them, or we're distracted, or we're not even in the moment. We're so projecting forward or backwards that we're not even appreciating the time that we're in. We're missing it. We're missing all of this stuff. So then there's yogis. So we've all heard of karma and we're like, oh, that's positive stuff. And yeah, it is. But karma actually is action. So if you're a person that's a doer and you go out there and you do things, that's a yoga. That's a type of yoga. If you're a volunteer, you're a karma yogi. If you're a keynote speaker, if you're a doctor, you're of research, you're a jnana yogi. Your knowledge. That's what you do, is you help other people as well as yourself find that balance through the mind. You do it through the body. That would be hatha yoga. That's me. So what I try to do is teach people how to find that center through using their physical body. So without having to talk about it, without having to do anything other than moving our body in different poses and asanas, using different planes to align our bones, to align our chakras, to align our energies, focusing on something and then releasing. So that's how I teach, and that's what I teach. But there are just so many different kinds of yoga. It's just amazing what's out there. And bhakti yoga, they have a bhakti fest every year. Bhakti yoga is devotional. So I've done several classes myself. I have several friends that are much more Christian, and I know there's a lot of people that are like, well, you can't be Christian and do yoga. But yes, you can. You can be any religion and do yoga. It does not require you to be Hindi or anything else. um, I have quite a few friends that are Christian yoga instructors, and so they do classes that are called Trading Om for Amen, which is kind of nice. So then they have their own demographics. So you can make yoga whatever it is that you need. So yantras or drawings. So say you're an artist, or maybe you're just an at-home meditation adult color book person, like I do sometimes. That's a yantra. Mantras and yantras are about visuals and spoken words and positive affirmations. So any way that you go about helping yourself, more or less, we could call it a yoga. So we don't have to feel afraid of that word yoga, and we don't have to start thinking like, well, this is a Bikram hot yoga class or whatever. Yoga is just any action that brings you to uniting yourself to that feeling of like, it's okay, I feel better. That's yoga.
I love it. I love it. The way that you describe it just makes me think. Well, it's funny because it reminds me of martial arts, and at the same time, of course, it does. Right? That's like saying running reminds me of exercise. But I say that because when I think of martial arts, there's so many different sports now, right? Whether it's UFC, boxing, kickboxing, and so on. But when you really dig into the traditional martial arts, there's so much more than that. There's so much more about the mind and living your values and standards throughout the day that have nothing to do with kicking and punching, right?
Right.
And so when you speak on yoga in the way that you just did, it reminds me of the same thing because yoga is so much more than those 60, 45, 60, 90 minutes on the mat. It's kind of the way that I exist and energize myself to move throughout this world. Like you're not just going to do yoga, but you can be a yogi. And doing and being are two different things. And
Mhm.
so I just love the way that you explain it and break it down, again, for people like me and others who are new to it, with the idea that this is so much more than what you do on the mat, and you're going to get so much more out of it than deep breathing and stretching.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I absolutely love that.
yeah, absolutely. I do too. I love the feeling when people start to realize that yoga is not what they thought it was, that it can be anything that they need. It can be so much more than what it was. It can also be so much less. So if you were thinking like, oh, I have to wake up for this 5 a.m. hot yoga boot camp, or I'm just never going to meet enlightenment, or I'm never going to feel good, for my intense board meeting later. Like, I mean, if it helps you, great. But we need to take a step back and stop overdoing. People are overdoing it, like on everything. We overdo. Well, if I'm going to be a yogi, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live in the ashrams. Like, we can't quit our day jobs. When I talk about letting go of stress or taking a moment vacation, that's because sometimes you can't take a vacation. I mean, there were years in my life when my husband and I did not go on vacation, years where we worked and there was no time off. And there are plenty of times that happens for other people for whatever reason, and they can't just pick up and take a vacation. Like, you're a sergeant, right, Dr. Gaines?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure as a sergeant you can understand there are plenty of positions in the services where at no time you can just be like, this is too much, I'm going to go on a vacation.
Right? And you say that, and it's funny because in the military, you're given 30 days of vacation time a year,
Mhm.
plus you have federal holidays and weekends and so on. And then they have what's called use or lose, which is usually 90 days. And so if you have 90 days of leave saved up, PTO, you've literally not used one in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've had so many friends that there's so much going on, but they're being forced to, and they're actually upset. Like, I can't believe they're making me take 2 weeks off to get my number under 90, because they just, back to what you were saying about accepting your imperfections and regrets and guilt and so on, where you actually feel bad for taking a couple weeks off to take care of yourself. Like, that's a mindset. Whereas, going back to yoga, it helps you essentially have a clearer vision or perspective of your entire life, as opposed to just your work life. Like, you are so much more than just a staff sergeant. You're so much more than a nurse, so much more than a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. You're so much more than that. And I believe, even with the way that you describe it, yoga enables you to elevate your mind and spirit so that you can bring that consistently to all of the roles that you play, so that I can have a certain bit of peace or calm, whether I'm performing surgery or changing a diaper or putting some cinnamon rolls in the oven. There should be, like, I should not have to escape from my life.
That's right. That's right. And learning to cultivate these little moments of awareness and these little moments of peace in our life every day is going to alleviate so much stress for us. I mean, we still need to have somebody to talk to. We still need to have exercise regimens and health and go to work and have families. And there's going to be stress with all of those things. But we have to learn how to give ourselves a break. Like, we don't, and we work ourselves to the bone. We work ourselves into sickness. We work ourselves into the grave, into loneliness. And for what? I read something somebody was talking about today that said, there's no pockets in a shroud. And I was like, wow, in our death shrouds, we're not taking anything with us. And we all have ultimately the same morbid destination. So there's no rush. There's no rush. And we should stop acting like there's a certain timeline. Like, okay, so I've been I've been practicing yoga for God, over 20 years. I'm not gonna say how much, over 20 years. And I've gotten accredited and certified and all of that stuff, but I went back to school. I'm a student all over again. And you said in the post about how you're going to be learning Spanish. You're going to be a student, even though you're a Dr. Gaines, Sergeant Gaines, and you're a student too. Like, seeds from the very beginning, lowering that level so that we can see we're all multifaceted. You could
Yes.
be a race car driver and still be learning how to ride a bike. Like, you can be a student and be a teacher, and the best teachers are students. In fact, I think Richard Feynman was the one that came up with the Feynman method about, if you don't understand something, try teaching it, you know,
Yes.
because that really helps. And so what that helped me become a better student was becoming a yoga teacher, is because I could understand, like you said, like how to break it down and what are the meanings and underlyings of these things. And my favorite thing to do is to share that knowledge with other people. I love to tell them about it. I love to get rid of those preconceived notions, to realize, like, we can make yoga is flexible, right? Okay, great. Because I need to mold it to my life. I need to mold it to fit me, and I need to mold it to fit each individual person, because their life is not my life. Not
Right.
everybody wants to do hot yoga. I don't. I mean, I don't. You can get injured. Some people love it, and I think that's great. And I think you should do it. And I'm more power to you. And I feel like, man, you get out there and you want to stretch like a rubber band. That's great. I'm really flexible, so it's scary for me actually, and I'm more prone to injury. So I have to constantly learn in yoga how to hold myself back. And that's a good thing for somebody who's neurodiverse and ADHD, because I'm always like, ooh, ooh, and I get real excited and I come up with ideas and I try not to talk over people, but I get so excited that it just kind of blurts out my mouth. And so the yoga teaching me to hold back and to pause. Like one of my 4 kids, my second, my oldest son, he has severe ADHD. He's neurodiverse, and it has helped him immensely in school and in life for him to learn how to meditate, how to breathe, how to calm down, because he is emotionally heightened. And so things become overwhelming for him. And one of my friends, she has a daughter that's nonverbal, that's autistic, and doing yoga with her and allowing her daughter to just be herself, to just interrupt us, to run in the room, to be a kid, allows my friend to feel comfortable, because she knows, one, I've got 4 kids, so there's nothing that hasn't happened that I haven't seen. I mean, I don't care. It's really about her. And if she feels more comfortable, if she feels like she can breathe, then I don't care if the kid is running around being a kid. Why should any of us care? Why should we have these preconceived notions? Like when I was a kid, we go to the restaurant and you have to sit there and behave. But I have 4 kids and I go out to the restaurant. If I hear other people's kids crying or screaming, it doesn't bug me. I don't
Right.
feel like I need to leave the restaurant. I don't feel upset. I don't feel angry at the parent or the kid. Like, people are just being people and stuff happens, you know? I mean, I'm at the coffee shop right now, but you had told me yourself, Dr. Gaines, if I had stayed at home with my 3-year-old running into the room, you would have been okay with that, because that's
Yeah,
life,
it's beautiful.
right? And the quarantine has made it so that we've all kind of learned to accept the fact that life is just happening. You know, these Zoom meetings, yeah, sometimes we're wearing suits with sweatpants and boxer shorts. Oops, you know, I'm at home, you can't see. You know, who cares? Like, allowing other people to have the grace that that's okay. And then when you sit there and you look at it and you're like, well, I would let them have their kid interrupt, then why are we holding that same standard still for ourselves? Why are we having
Right.
such an expectation? We're just
Yeah,
making ourselves, you know, it's just allowing ourselves to just be perfectly imperfect, and that's okay.
it really is, and I love it. And I'm the emotional intelligence guy, emotional intelligence trainer, and I think when people really understand emotional intelligence, not just the surface level stuff, which is all over every app, but when you really understand it to a deeper level, it's easy to see how the yoga fits into that, into the self-awareness, and then the self-regulation, the understanding why and what is going on in my body and what can I do about it, and using the yoga to regulate yourself, and not regulate yourself in a way that you are ensuring that you're following rules, but regulating yourself in a way that you're able to accept the rules you follow and break, and not judge yourself, to be able to say, I'm not I'm not going to do that this year. This year, and just think about the words that we use, right? So this year, I'm not going to call myself clumsy. I'm not going to call myself stupid. I'm not going to call myself broke. I'm not going to call myself fat. I'm not going to call myself lazy. And to me, yoga really, one thing that it does, it gives you awareness of what's going on in your mind. Like, oh wait,
Yeah,
I'm going to stop using those words to describe me, because I don't use those words to describe people I love. And so if I
yeah.
love myself, I'm
And
going to
even
stop.
a step farther than that, don't have the thought that I'm going to stop doing this thing that I'm doing. Instead, just have the thought like, you know, if you feel if you felt last year like you were lazy and you were calling yourself lazy, please don't do that this year. Please, this year, do something that'll make you feel like you can't have that thought. Go out
Yeah.
there and try hiking once a month. And then you can't call yourself lazy. Or, you know, instead wake up every day and just be like, come up with a different word. Say, I'm a calm person. or I'm a meticulous person. Maybe you're
Yeah.
not a fast rushing person. And so you're labeling yourself as lazy when the reality is you move at a different pace and you're comparing yourself to other people that are in a rush, or maybe they move faster, or, and they're always ahead. And so we're putting ourselves on these like comparisons. We're always comparing ourselves, but you really don't need to compare yourself because there is no other Professor Charleston Gaines. There is no other Katie Molidor. We're not competing with anybody other than the version of who we were yesterday. So if
Yes.
you want
Yes.
to be a better person for 2023, then you can do it. All you have to do is just start doing it. Just, you don't
Yes.
want to call yourself lazy anymore, then don't. Start waking up and just being like, you know what? I'm a motivated person. I'm not sure what I'm motivated about yet, but I'm going to find it.
I love it. I love it. That's where the journey starts. That's where the journey starts, right? It's like I don't know what my time is going to be in this marathon, but let me go ahead and start running. I don't know my pace at mile 20, but I'm going to choose my pace now, and I'm going to choose a pace that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, you did
Yeah.
something, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
I mean,
So
like, my not to interrupt you, but one of my favorite books I read when I was going through my teacher accreditation was by Mark Stevens, and it's called Teaching Yoga. It's simple as that, but it's got a great quote in the beginning, and it talks about it's not about how far you go, it's about how you go.
I love it.
Yoga is about integrity. It's all about integrity. It's about alignment and integrity. And you have to hold your integrity in your poses and learning that integrity to be honest with yourself, to be authentic, to acknowledge your limitations as well as your like successes and your talents. Like maybe you are the person in the class that is extremely balanced, or maybe you're extremely flexible in your lower back and you can like wrap your hands around your toes when you do sit and reach. It doesn't, it doesn't matter. In one of the areas you're going to be strong, and one of the areas you're not going to be as strong as some other people. That's just life. That's yoga class.
Yes.
That's everything. And so you just notice where you're struggling, and you can ask people for help, or you can use a support, or you can do a modification. And doesn't that sound just like life?
Yes. Exactly. And And when you say that, I think about that's exactly how life is. And then for the individual, you have to recognize sometimes nobody is helping you because they're available, but you didn't ask.
Yeah. Asking is so important. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things to do.
It is.
Put yourself out there and say, I need some support,
Yeah.
but what's amazing about that is you really get a chance to see how many other wonderful people are in the world, because yeah, there's always going to be a few people that are like, no, I'm not going to help, or I can't, or I don't want to, or whatever reason they have. But like Fred Rogers, his mom had told him a quote when he was a kid. He was upset about something on the news, and she told him, don't worry, look for the helpers in life, because there's always helpers.
Yes.
And there's always people that are willing to help. So not everybody is going to be like the best, most helpful people. But if you risk it and you put yourself out there, then you'll often find an opportunity to have those that are willing to support you. You can find those people by continuing to have integrity and shining true to yourself.
Yes, definitely.
You can really gain more strength of character. Like with yoga, we say strong core, soft heart. So we're physically building a strong core muscle, and we're softening our heart physically because we're trying to open it up and on that level. But in the metaphysical and the ethereal realm, we're also creating a strong core, a strong spine, a strong will, a strong backbone, a strong mind. And from this strong place, we have the ability to be softer. It's so much strength to be kind or gentle. And it's not weakness. It's not. And if there are people out there watching this or watch this later that are thinking to themselves like, I'm just not, I'm such a weak person. Like I'm so easily stepped on, or I'm so easily taken advantage of, or naive or gullible. That's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be Genghis Khan. Not all of us are these strong warrior hearts. There are plenty of different people, and there are strength in different areas. It's strong to be soft, and people that are strong, they're amazing too. I mean, I don't feel like I have to put that out there because we can all see you guys are, you're like warriors. So yeah, but for the meek, for the people, the wallflowers, there is so much strength in being silent and being the strong one and the one that's left behind. Like, there's strength in all sorts of different kinds of places, and we need not attribute value to just one right narrative. There is no
Right.
one right story or one right way to success or right way to be. The person that lives in the woods by themselves with 400 cats and they're happy, they have achieved success in their life. If they're happy, then they're happy and they don't want anything else and they live that way and they just feed their 400 cats or whatever. That's great. So they live their happy life in the woods in their hermitage. And if you've made it to the top and you have golden toilet bowls, but your kids don't talk to you or you don't have many friends, like, then how much can we say you're successful?
Right.
You have you've accumulated a lot of things, you've accomplished a lot of things, but how good do you feel inside? I mean, if you've gotten there and you feel great, then yes, you've succeeded. But if you've gotten there, if you've lost weight and you're still not happy, if you've become sober, but life is a dull blur now, then there's issues that we
Right.
need to solve. We need to feel excited about life. We need to feel good about who we are and just being alive without having to think, well, I survived those things, so I feel good, or I've got these things coming, so I'm gonna feel good. Just feel good because you're here. Like, it's such a gift to just be here.
I love it. I love it, and it's so true. Absolutely love it because when you say these things, we can talk about people do this, people do that, people are feeling this or whatever. But at the same time, everything that you're saying applies directly to me too. It's not like some outer universe of people. Like that's me too. Looking at, oh, in the future when this happens, I'll feel this, or I can be proud of this, whatever, whatever, without actually giving I guess, the respect and the attention to right now. Like, regardless of what happened in the past, or regardless of what's going to happen in the future, good or bad, I can be grateful for the opportunity to just be sitting here and having this open mind and perspective on my life and life in general. And so, and that's a lot of what we talk about when we're discussing mindfulness, is just being aware of yourself in the moments.
Yeah.
And so when you say those things, yeah, I can say people need to do this and people need to do that, but I'm people. Like it's me too. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We put disclaimers on things. We put conditions on love for ourselves. Like, we all talk about unconditional love, but shouldn't that start with from within?
Exactly.
It starts.
Because you can't, like, how can I love you in a way that you feel this unconditional love from me, but you have to take my word for it because you don't see it in me. And what I mean is, like, if I'm not loving myself,
Mhm.
then it can be a confusing message to you. Like, I love you unconditionally. If you love me unconditionally, but I see you continually hating yourself,
Yeah.
what's the message? How do I receive unconditional love from someone who's so full of pain and self hate?
Right. Yeah, my grandmother used to say, you have to love yourself, Katie, because how can you offer something to other people if you don't have it for yourself first?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've heard people have different opinions about that, because I'm not saying that somebody that's struggling with self-worth is not able to love or is not worthy of love. What that has to do with is, if you have a dry well Now, how are you going to draw water from it? You
Right.
have you have to put water in there. You have to start loving yourself. You have to see in yourself something that's worthy, and it makes it easier for other people to see it, whether that matters or not. I don't know, but it makes it easier for others to see. Like you said, like it's confusing and conflicting to feel like, well, they say they love me or whatever, but they're very like self destructive, or they're very
Right.
toxic to themselves. And so then the people you love around you don't know how to feel about that. And so most people don't want to make their loved ones feel uneasy or insecure. You don't want to worry them. Oftentimes there's a lot of guilt that comes along with people with suicidal tendencies and depression and things like that. And it's not anything to feel guilt for.
Right.
I mean, everybody has different moments, and we all have moments of depression. Now, if you're a manic depressive, and I I agree with taking medication for that, but I believe that yoga is an essential part of the wellness of personal preventative care. I honestly think that everybody should do yoga in some form or other, and I personally think they do, whether they're aware of it or not.
Right.
But everybody is trying to constantly better ourselves. We're constantly trying to find that center. And I told my husband, if I ever get a tattoo, because I don't have any yet, but if I ever get a tattoo, there's one where there's a donut chasing a little donut hole, and it says find your center. And I feel like that's what I'm gonna get, because
I love it. I love it.
that's what we're doing, right? We're just trying to like go find that center. And sometimes we feel like donuts, and sometimes we feel like donut holes, and we're just the center, or we're missing it and we're looking for it. And it's so vitally important to take those times out of your week, out of your day. I personally am a day person, to just breathe. Just breathe and just allow yourself those few moments to just exist without having a preconceived notion or an expectation to meet. You don't have to have a deadline or anything else. You can just be perfectly you without having to be Sergeant Gaines or Dr.
Right.
Gaines, or having to be the founder of Cope, or having to be the leader of this podcast, or anything else. You can just be yourself, the
Yeah.
same person you are when you turn off the lights at night or you close your eyes and you're in a room by yourself. It doesn't matter what the label is. You are you, whether people call you a name or not. So, who are you without your name and your labels?
Right.
What is
Right.
that vibration? What is that energy? And getting in touch with that, and really starting a love affair between yourself. And, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. So you use who you are today, and we're going to start doing yoga poses and practices and teaching the body to release physically, so that the mind can follow and the heart can follow. And then eventually we'll get to the point where it's just like any other muscle. Our mind is a muscle like anything
Yeah.
else. And so we can learn to strengthen it, we can learn to control it better. And by doing that, we can have better peace and control over our own lives. We can be more in control of our emotions, our reactions, and live in peace because we control that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm wondering if you feel like in the moment. I wanted to close out here. Um, where you are and what's going on. Are you comfortable with the meditation?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. So this is my first meditation of 2023. I'm going to do a whole lot more of it this year than in previous years, and definitely going to get into some yoga. I'm going to have to post on that when I do it too, to
Oh,
let
yeah.
people know. So what I wanted to do was just um, for you to lead me through meditation. I don't know, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 90 seconds, whatever you decide. And then when we spoke last time, you said that you like to close out class a certain way.
Uh huh.
And so I would just like to close out that same way. And so, from the meditation to how you close class,
Absolutely.
Katie, do me the honor, please, and close us out.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Okay. One more thing before I start the meditation.
Yes.
I promised I would give some yoga tips to anybody that stuck around long enough. So one of the yoga tips I have is that anybody can do a full yoga sequence every single day in 7 minutes.
Wow. So, okay.
So I had a teacher teach me this. She was an Ashtanga teacher, but you can do a full sequence class in 7 minutes. It's not much, but you have a full 2 minutes to center with yourself and get your breath. Then you do a quick warm up pose, takes a minute. Then you do a peak pose, that's a minute. It takes a minute to do a counter pose, and then 2 minutes to relax and center again. And there's your 7-minute class. So that's my yoga tip for everyone that stuck around for that. Yes, you can do it. If you want to know more about that, you can always message me. So, okay. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do, especially you, Dr. Gaines, is I'd like you to find a real comfortable seat and just kind of settle into your sit bones. Like settle on down, root your tailbone down. Nice deep breaths. Then we're going to start to have a nice tall spine. We want to sit up nice. So still rooting down with our seat bones, but we want to pull up through our spine. So it's nice and tall, nice and strong. And you're going to keep that energy going all the way up through the crown of your head, your crown chakra. And you reach up. And it's kind of feeling like a marionette puppet, like somebody's pulling on the string from the top of your head. Nice and tall, straight line. And then we're going to shrug our shoulders up by our ears and then roll them and relax back down. Shoulders are nice and relaxed away from the ears. Nice and tall spines, sitting, rooting down into our seat bones. We close our eyes and we take deep breaths in and out the nose. In. 1, 2, 3. Hold. And then slowly exhale. 3, 2, 1. In. 1, 2, 3. Hold. And exhale. 3, 2, 1. And as you keep doing this breath, just focusing on your breath, with your eyes closed, you want to come up with some sort of affirmation, mantra, New Year resolution, any word. It could be a symbol, a picture. It could be any positive thought, a memory, anything that makes you feel calm or focused, anything that you want to build more of in life, anything you want to cultivate. It could be strength or success. It could be peace or happiness, whatever it is. Abundance, truth. And as you focus on this truth for you, you focus in between your eyebrows, that third eye chakra, as we call it. And you just hold that thought there. Keep breathing. Notice your breath. As you sit here and hold that thought and breathe and noticing your calm breath, you start to feel a warm sensation. Starting in your toes, you can imagine this warm feeling rising up through your ankles and over your shins. This warm, relaxing feeling, it pools in your knees, relieving the stress, spilling over your thighs, settling into your hips and your lower back, releasing all of the stress there. We keep breathing. We can feel this warm feeling as it rises to our bellies, spilling into our navel. Nice, tall, strong, calm. We can feel the warm feeling in the palms of our hands. And as it spreads from the palms of our hands over our arms, up our shoulders, it rises from our navel and meets at our heart. This warm, soft, beautiful, glowing feeling resonating in us, calming us, opening our hearts to love. And it rises up our neck, relaxing our shoulders, relaxing our jaw muscles and our neck. We feel it softening our eyes, our whole body feeling warm and relaxed. That same feeling rises up through our head, protruding out of our crown chakra, this positive radiating feeling. And we breathe here, relishing that feeling. And just take a few minutes, focus on your thought, your positive affirmation, enjoying this feeling, knowing that this breath and this feeling is yours, that you can come back to this feeling anytime, any day, because it's living inside of you. And then from there, we're going to slowly bring our focus back to our bodies. We're going to wiggle our toes and our fingers, rotate our wrists, take some deep breaths, centering ourselves back into now, into our seat, bringing our hands to prayer mudra, heart center. And then when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes. And then I end every class by telling all of my students that I'm very grateful to them. I'm very grateful to you, Dr. Gaines, and anybody who is watching today, because when you take the time to cultivate that little bit of peace and happiness in yourself, you're helping to cultivate it amongst the rest of the world. And so for that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time for yourself today, to love yourself, to help the world by being good to you. And in that way, the divine light inside of me honors and acknowledges the divine light within you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. If I wasn't in Tampa, I'd actually just come over right now. But but
It's actually nice. I thought it was going to rain today. It's been raining here in San Diego, but it's a nice day today. So we're lucked out.
well, thank you very much. And for me personally, this is the perfect start to the year for me. And when I was thinking of affirmations, what I thought of, because you said a lot of different things, like whether it's love or abundance or success, and I just thought, I am worthy and I deserve it. And
Yes,
so
I love that.
to apply that to whatever aspect of my life needs it in the moment. And so, and when we meditate, the way that you led this made me not just think I am worthy, but I almost felt like I was sitting in that worthy energy. I don't know if that
You
makes
are.
sense. I don't even really talk like that.
Yeah, I know. It makes us all into the weird juju people, But that's okay. We'll just hang out with more scientists.
Well, thank you very much again for your time. This is a great way to start the year. And for anyone that is watching, thank you everyone for your attention and patience. Usually I do this for about 45 minutes to an hour, but I really wanted to just not even worry about that and just focus on us, not the clock, not the time, nothing else.
Yeah.
our
I
energy, our
normally try to
connection.
confine mine to 45 minutes to an hour as well.
But here we are, and I loved every minute of it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Dr. Gaines. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. It's really important. And the work that you do is just amazing. I can't advocate enough how needed that is in society today, how important it is for people to cultivate a sense of emotional intelligence, to create real, valid, like genuine connections with each other. And I really appreciate your ability to just spread the positive message. I think it's going to be
Wow.
a great year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will talk to you later. I appreciate you, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Bye.